Afghanistan, 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 America's bloody, dirty, and deadly secret. I want to say this, and of course you are very much aware of the fall of Kabul and the swift takeover of the entire land of Afghanistan over the last week after Joe Biden, my time president, made the decision to quickly withdraw from Afghanistan the troops that were there, some 3,000 troops, and the entire nation is falling, including the capital city. Kabul is falling and people are fleeing for their lives. And I want to say this, as you know, 20 years ago, George Bush sent troops into Afghanistan on the hunt for Osama bin Laden and for those that allegedly that were part of the 9/11 event here in September 2001. I have to tell you, I've talked with a lot of Muslims, and many of the Hashemite origin, or if you will, lineage or tribe, and they all declare, every Muslim I've ever talked to over the past 20 years, every Muslim I've ever talked to has declared that no Muslim, nor did Afghanistan itself, have anything to do with 9/11. I repeat that. Over the past 20 years, I've talked to a large number of Muslims, and there's not one Muslim who's ever confessed that a Muslim of any sort, of any tribe or any sect, had anything to do with those towers that fell on 9/11, what we refer to as 9, nor was Afghanistan in any way. But George Bush sent troops into Afghanistan. Quickly, I don't want you to, because I'm now saying this, all of a sudden now you're going to call me un-American or call me a hater or a traitor or some other name. I'm simply saying to you, I didn't tell you what my thoughts were about it. Did I tell you? I told you what I've heard others say. That doesn't mean I think the same thing. And I'll tell you what I think at the appropriate time. So don't start judging me. I'm just telling you they're sending troops into 9/11 and into Afghanistan, and now withdrawing with this tragedy, this travesty, this tragedy, this debacle that is now going on in Kabul as I speak, and in Afghanistan in general, is outrageous. It is horrendous. And I'm going to tell you what America's dirty little secret is about Afghanistan in just a moment. But before I get there, let me also say to you, every Muslim that I've ever talked to declares that Saddam Hussein of Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. And George Bush and Colin Powell sent troops into Baghdad, slaughtering, killing, maiming as they went. Hundreds of thousands lost their lives in that contest. But Saddam Hussein had nothing to do, at least that's what every Muslim tells me. And a large number of people have now looked at the report given by Colin Powell to the United Nations that launched this invasion into Iraq based on the 9/11 event, have now come to a large number of respectful institutions, news institutions, and others and politicians have all agreed that Iraq and Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with 9/11. Nothing to do with it. I want to further state that I, James David Manning, that's me, held a trial to discover if the rumor was true that Barack Hussein Obama, and by the way, let me quickly state that once Barack Hussein Obama launched his campaign to be the president of the United States, he was then told everyone to stop using the name Hussein and just call him Barack Obama. But we'll get back to that in more detail in just a moment. But having some knowledge of this and wanting to seek justice, I, yours truly, James David Manning, held a trial here at the ATLAH World Missionary Church after receiving a phone call from a representative of the CIA who had visited me the previous day. Homeland Security came into our church, knocked on our door, brought the community police from the 28th precinct, circled the building, circled all of Lenox Avenue, and got on the rooftops, and then they came in, Homeland Security, and sat down in the study where I'm now sitting and questioned me about the statements I was making about Barack Hussein Obama. The following day, I got a phone call that said to me that if I wanted to know the truth about Barack Hussein Obama, that I should investigate what went on at Columbia University and the years that Obama alleged to have gone to Columbia University. Now, this call came from either the CIA or the Homeland Security. I don't know the name of the agent, but the call came in, and I took it. And I don't know how they were able to facilitate it and bring it in, but I got it. The information was given to me that Obama was a CIA operative in Afghanistan from 1981 to 1983 and told me to investigate. I held a trial to investigate. And the purpose of Obama being there in Afghanistan in 1981 was to aid a group of Muslims that I referred to as goat herders, but their political name was the Mujahideen. The Mujahideen was a fighting force that was presently fighting against the Soviet Union that had invaded Afghanistan in 1979. 2 years later, Obama arrives to help the Mujahideen. He becomes an interpreter. You remember he studied in Indonesia and, of course, understood he had a Muslim cadence. The CIA recruited him. This is what my trial set out to investigate. I'll tell you whether it be true or not, but my trial set out to investigate. That he was there in 1981 to 1983, acting as an operative with the Mujahideen because of his Muslim cadence, his Muslim name, his understanding of Muslim foods, his interpretation abilities, and he worked with the Mujahideen and their efforts to defeat the Soviet Union that had invaded Afghanistan in 1979 and ultimately left Afghanistan with the Soviet Union, left Afghanistan with their tail between their legs in 1988. Obama, of course, had returned to America by then and is now getting ready to do his presidential bid. But he equipped them to do the transition. Now study your history and study the history of the political, religious ideologies and groups and development of Afghanistan, going all the way back to the 100-year that the British tried to invade that nation. What happened during the time of the Russian invasion of Afghanistan? That they transitioned from the Mujahideen as their political name to a name that is now known as the Taliban. And it was Barack Hussein Obama, the community organizer, but his community organizing was in Kabul, Kandahar, Herat, and other parts of Afghanistan, where he traveled and taught them and interceded and helped them use Stinger missiles and understand the processes as other military types came into Afghanistan. American military types came into Afghanistan to help fight the Soviet Union that had been there for 10 years. And ultimately, with the help of Obama, transferring the Mujahideen to a now political group now known as the Taliban, they were able to defeat the Muslims and chase them out in 1988. In 1996, the Taliban then became the head of the government seat in Kabul. They were the president. They ran everything, and the Taliban, this small fighting group, became the dominant political force in Afghanistan from 1996, and they stayed that way until 2001, when America, and if you will, invaded in December of 2001, after the 9/11 event here in America. George Bush sent troops and toppled the Taliban in Kabul, but they have been in power from 1996 to 2001. Now, again, Obama's involvement and America's dirty, bloody, and deadly secret about Afghanistan needs to be known. And so we held a trial here to discover, one, about the dropped name that Obama and his allegedly having been a part of the assets and CIA operative in Afghanistan for 2 years. And that I should investigate the fact that Obama was alleged to have been educated at Columbia University after spending 2 years at Occidental College in Los Angeles, but never set foot on campus ground in Morning Heights here in New York City, 7 blocks from where I sit, by the way, as the crow flies. Columbia University is only 7 blocks from where I now sit. Now, what happened, and I'm confident, and this is what our trial was able to demonstrate, that Columbia University, working with the CIA, arranged for a degree program to be given to Obama for the 2 years he was in Afghanistan, developing the now political group known as the Taliban. They gave him cover. Columbia University gave him cover as he was a student there. But I want to read you an article from the Wall Street Journal. You don't have to take my word for this. My brother, my sister, you don't have to take my word. But the Wall Street Journal published an article in September of 2008, and here is what it read. It said, Obama's lost years. Barack Obama makes his first campaign visit today to his alma mater, Columbia University. Just don't ask the prolific self-diarist to talk about his undergraduate days in Morningside Heights. The Columbia years are a hole in the sprawling Obama biography, or hagiography. In his 2 published memoirs, the 47-year-old Democrat nominee barely mentions his experience there being Columbia University. He refuses to answer questions about Columbia and New York, which is in this media age serves only to raise more questions, and I raised them myself. Why not? The Wall Street Journal said to Barack Hussein Obama, why not release your Columbia transcript? Why has his senior essay that he had to submit in order to graduate from Columbia University, nobody's able to find it? It all of a sudden is gone missing. Now let me state, I have more to read on Wall Street Journal's investigation of where was Obama. What are the lost years? Where was Obama from 1981 to 1983? Let me state this, that Columbia University, as I sit now, where I sit now, is only 7 blocks from where I presently sit as the crow flies. It's here in Harlem. They call it Morning Heights, or Morningside Heights. I was at a school right across the street from Columbia called Union Theological Seminary. Union Theological Seminary and Columbia University hold joint master's degree programs. So in order for me to be a student at Union Theological Seminary, I had to have a student ID card also from Columbia because our medical facilities were there. We used the little library, the Butler Library, and other auspices of Columbia University because they're right across the street from one another. I was at Columbia University in 1983. I never saw Obama. During the years Obama alleged to have been at Columbia University, James Forbes, if you will, America's most powerful Hamite preacher, James Cone, the author of Black Theology, Cornel West, and James Melvin Washington were all teachers at Columbia University in 1983. None of them ever heard or saw Obama on campus at Union Theological Seminary, rather. None of them saw him on campus at Columbia University. I'm going to read more from the article of the Wall Street Journal not being able to find out where Obama was between 1981 and 1982. As we look at this debacle going on now with America's dirty secret about Afghanistan. The article goes on. Now, in our view, the college years shouldn't normally be used to judge a politician's fitness for office. We're not sure of the transcripts of Al Gore, John Kerry, and George Bush, which showed them to be C students, illuminated much of their voters. The McCain campaign won't release his records, but we know he graduated at the bottom of his Naval Academy class. But Mr. Obama is a case apart. His personal story, as told by him, made possible his rise from obscurity 4 years ago to possibly the White House. He doesn't have a long track record in government. We mainly have him in his own words. As any autobiographer, Mr. Obama played up certain chapters in his life, perhaps even exaggerating his drug use in adolescence to drive home his theme of youthful alienation, and ignored others. What's more, as acknowledged in Dreams from My Father, that's the book allegedly published by Obama, Mr. Obama reconstructed conversations and gave some people pseudonyms or created composite characters that really did not exist, that he said were actually a part of his childhood. He lied. That's what the Wall Street Journal is saying. Now, this article is published in the Wall Street Journal. Voters and the media are now exercising due diligence before Election Day, and they are meeting resistance from Mr. Obama in checking his past, especially the years that he allegedly was at Columbia University. Earlier this year, the Associated Press tracked down Mr. Obama's New York-era roommate, Siddiqui, in Seattle after the campaign refused to reveal his name, Sohail Siddiqui. His real name confirmed Mr. Obama's account that he turned serious in New York and stopped getting high, as Obama was alleged to be a cocaine user and a marijuana smoker. Obama states that himself. Siddiqui says, we were both very lost, Mr. Siddiqui said. We were both alienated, although he might not put it that way. He arrived disheveled and without a place to stay. In other words, Siddiqui is saying that Obama arrived from Los Angeles to New York, Columbia University, disheveled and without a place to stay. My friend, let me tell you something. Columbia University is one of the more powerful universities on the planet. It's number 5, I think, or number 4 in the list of American universities' greatness. If they accept you into their graduate program, they're going to give you housing. They got some of those beautiful housing in New York City, the students at Columbia. And so when you come, you don't have to sleep in the street. Obama lied. Columbia, if he had been accepted by Columbia, came to them, they would have given him housing. And Siddiqui says he came and didn't have a place to stay when he arrived. For some reason, the Obama camp wanted all this information to stay out of public view. That's the Wall Street Journal, September of the year 2008. So I held a trial. To determine where was Obama in 1981 to 1983, because he certainly wasn't at Columbia University, and the Wall Street Journal says that he wasn't. And if you ask him where was he will not tell you. And if you ask him for a transcript of his thesis or a senior essay, it doesn't exist. If you ask anybody that was at Columbia University between 1981 and 1983 in any other program, they would have noticed a tall, if you will, charismatic character like Obama. Everybody would have known he was on campus. Nobody ever saw him. No one has come forward to demonstrate that they ever saw Obama on Columbia University campus. But that ain't all. No, that ain't all. Obama later allegedly graduates, and Michael Sovereign gives Obama a diploma in political science, a bachelor's degree. Michael I. Sovereign was the president of Columbia at the time. So Obama takes that degree and then applies to Harvard. Now you have to remember, Obama was a C student at Occidental. That's a little small rinky-dink college out there in Los Angeles somewhere, ain't nobody never heard of till Obama went to it. And that's probably the only college of note that he could get into because he was such a poor student in high school. He was just a D student in high school and a C student at Occidental College. All of a sudden, he gets accepted at Columbia University on a transfer joint. Are you out of your mind? And then after graduating Columbia University, where nobody's ever received a report card, he gets accepted at Harvard in the law program. He gets accepted at one of America's most difficult law schools, which is Harvard. Come on now. But yet, His years at Harvard can be validated, that much I can say. But here's what I find very strange. Obama then becomes the president of the Harvard Law Review. Now remember, we're talking about Afghanistan, America's bloody, dirty, and deadly secret. And it's all coming to light now with what we see with the fall of Kabul rather. It's all coming to light, is what I want to say. And what Joe Biden has done, and Joe Biden and Obama's closeness, I'm going to get to that in just a moment. My investigation indicates he was never at Columbia, but I got more. So he goes to Harvard. That can be validated. After being a C student at Occidental. And he becomes the president of the Harvard Law Review. Listen, Supreme Court justices don't rise to that level. The president, in other words, the Harvard Law Review, for some of you, is the magazine that looks at all of the cases that are noteworthy and have some sort of standing in terms of American jurisprudence. And the Harvard Law School looks at them. The editor and president of the Harvard Law Review has to look at all those cases and give some opinion, the same way the Supreme Court looks at cases, or any court, and gives an opinion. Obama was the president or the editor of the Harvard Law Review, but never wrote one opinion. It was a farce. They gave it to him because of his sacrificial service in the hills and mountains of Kandahar and Kabul, as he served with the Mujahideen and trained them on political savviness to then become the Taliban that has taken over Afghanistan as I speak. They were trained by Barack Hussein Obama. At least that's what our trial proved. Now, it's a disgrace that this truth has been hidden for so long. But it really hasn't been hidden, because I held the trial back in 2010. And the month was May of 2010, shortly after Obama had become president and had received the Nobel Prize for Peace. And I got a phone call that tipped me off that I need to investigate Obama's Columbia years. Well, I didn't have to do an investigation. The Wall Street Journal did it for me, and they found nothing about him being there. Let me say this to you, my friends. More than 2,400 soldiers have died, American soldiers, over the past 20 years there in Afghanistan. 24 Gold Star families now exist. Tens of thousands of Afghanis died during the fighting with the Afghan troops, the Taliban, over the past 20 years. Thousands have died. More than 280,000 Afghan citizens fled their homes because of fighting in the hills of Kandahar and Helmand Palace, or conquered, or those regions within Afghanistan. $2.2 trillion was spent on supplies, equipment, training troops, establishing a government, building highways, building bridges. All of that was done with American money. Because George Bush sent troops into Afghanistan alleging that that was the plant bed and the conference ground upon which 9/11 took place. Remember when I started out a few moments ago, I said to you, I've never heard any Muslim boast. Now, Muslims like to tell what they have done, their victories. They're going to be telling their victory how they whooped America's backside a new one. They cut America a new butthole. They beat the living and caused America, so-called greatest army in the world, to leave Afghanistan in such a humiliating way. I don't know how Joe Biden, my time, is ever going to be able to show his face anywhere at any time. You know, when Saigon fell, 1975, and America got beat in Vietnam. They got their butts kicked, but good, in Vietnam. And when Saigon fell, it was a scream and a horror that America got beat so bad by the Viet Cong. I mean, it was absolutely unbelievable that people were standing on top of the embassy trying and praying, trying to jump onto a helicopter to get out of Saigon before the Viet Cong finally took over, and they did take over. We see something far worse than Saigon going on now in Kabul. It is absolutely unbelievable. But what needs to be said about it, not only should the judgment, the foreign policy judgment, the commander-in-chief judgment of Joe Biden, my time, be brought into question and his authority to lead America. And now the world is in a much more threatening position than it has ever been. Not only should that be questioned, but more questions should be raised that the Wall Street Journal raised about where was Obama in 1981, 1982, and 1983. Where was Obama? Was he in Kandahar? Was he in Afghanistan? Was he there? Was he an asset? Did he work with the CIA? Did he train the Mujahideen to become the Taliban? That question needs to be raised. And furthermore, did, as a result of his 2 years of service in training the Mujahideen to become the Taliban, that he was given cover by Columbia University? These questions need to be raised, and the truth needs to be determined. Was he given a fake diploma of which no student, no other person on planet Earth that has ever attended Columbia University can testify that they saw Obama in a classroom, that they talked to him in a classroom, or they saw him in the library, or they walked across the campus, or they saw him on 116th Street, or they saw him on Broadway, or they saw him at a restaurant, or they saw him at a church in Harlem, or they saw him dating anybody, man or woman, here in Harlem. The question that Wall Street Journal raised needs further investigation, especially since thousands are going to die. Now that Biden, my time, has withdrawn in such a shameful way, it is a shame that there's no empathy for the people, for the women that are going back to being forced to marry, not allowed to leave their homes, can't go to school. They're going back to that period of time of rule by the Taliban, trained by Obama. There needs to be further investigation. And I tell you this dirty secret is not going to stop haunting America until America finds the will and the honesty within itself to investigate Obama, investigate Michael Sovereign and Columbia University. This needs to be investigated. What has America done? What has America done? And again, let me go back to my original thesis. I've never met a Muslim, and Muslims like to talk about their victories. Oh, yes, they do. They like to Saladin everything. They like to talk about their victories. I've never heard a Muslim say he knew of a surety that it was Muslims that brought down the World Trade Center. I don't know who brought it down. I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know. What I do know is that the people who were accused of doing it said they had nothing to do with it. And the fact that it said it originated in Afghanistan, the people in Afghanistan said they had nothing to do with it. And I just, will the death march continue? What about all those soldiers that died, 2,400 that died in this contest over the past 12? Did they die in vain? Did they serve in? What about the 20,000 men that lost their arms to IEDs and their legs in wheelchairs? Some of them are blind. And what about this post, if you will, syndrome of having been in a war and coming back to America and unable to relate to American society anymore, and they need to be medicated? Soldiers, tens of thousands of them. Did they go to Afghanistan based on a lie? Was this war started based on a lie And at the center of this lie, the investigation of the Wall Street Journal indicates that Obama was someplace at the center of this lie. The Wall Street Journal indicates that Obama was somewhere, but he wasn't in America, and he wasn't at Columbia University, and he won't tell anybody. And the CIA won't tell us. Where was Obama? The Wall Street Journal wants to know. Between 1981 and 1983. Nobody in Harlem ever saw him. Columbia University, for those of you who don't know local geography, Columbia University is in Harlem. It's a little gated community called Morningside Heights, but it's still Harlem. You tell me that Obama was in Harlem for 2 years and never dated anybody? You tell me Obama was in Harlem for 2 years and never attended a black church or any other kind of church in Harlem? Never spotted at a restaurant? Never got a parking ticket? Never got caught smoking drugs? Nobody sold him dope? Nobody sold him marijuana? Nobody ever met him or saw him? No girl, no student, no teacher, no janitor, no porter, no nurse, no taxi cab driver? Nobody saw Obama. 2 years, nobody said he was here for 2 years. Nobody ever saw him. Wall Street Journal says that. Wall Street Journal wants to know. I do too. I do as well. But my friends, I don't know the final answer here. I held a trial. It was presented to the jury. The jury reached a verdict. But my friends, can we go on as Americans? Can we go on as a land of the free and the home of the brave? Can we go on as a democratic state if there are questions swirling around the 44th president of the United States that he really did not attend Columbia University and that he potentially trained the now political group called the Taliban, that it was Obama's training, his cadence, his Islamic language, his working with the CIA as an operative that has now come to power, that came to power in 1996, lost it in 2001, and have now 20 years come back to power again. These questions need to be raised. You say, well, Pastor Manny, you're un-American. You can say that about me. And you're asperging things about it. No, I'm only feeding off of the truth about the number of troops that died, the truth about the Mujahideen. They used to be, the truth about the fact that the Mujahideen beat the living daylights out of the Soviet Union and the Soviet Union fell apart. That's all true. That's not aspersion. It's all true. I'm simply now doubling down on the questions that were raised by the Wall Street Journal. Who wants to know where was Obama? And why isn't there a senior thesis, a senior essay from Columbia University? Where was he? I'm simply doubling down on a credible news organization. The Wall Street Journal is as credible as it gets. I'm simply doubling down. But I'm raising the question, if Obama trained the Taliban, and the Taliban are now the government that has crippled and kicked America's butt and has shamed America in one of the worst political wars or battles that America has ever lost. There has never been a loss of a battle, including Vietnam, that is ugly, as horrendous as this battle of what happened in Kabul or what happened in Afghanistan. And if Obama had anything to do with it, we need to know the truth. We need to know the truth. I have a thing I'm going to teach, not now, but I'll let you in on it because you and I are friends. You know, Jesus said, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. But I can tell you there are politicians, there are people in government and in power and corporations and in media that have put the truth in a dungeon. That's why you haven't heard a lot from me recently. They put the truth in a dungeon. Now the truth is not supposed to make you free, but they have locked up the truth. They've locked up the truth. And we need to know. We need to know. We need to know. The Taliban knows the truth. Don't you think that they don't know? Those boys know. Those boys know historically the truth. And that's America's dirty little secret. How much how much will America pay? How much will America give to the Taliban to keep them from posting up the truth or showing pictures of them sitting with Obama, showing pictures of them, Obama walking alongside Osama bin Laden? I'm not saying that he did, but if they have those pictures, how much will America give? How many lives will be lost in order that that truth never, that dirty, bloody, and deadly secret never comes to life? How many? How many? Tell me. How long will this go on? And what kind of footing is America now on? If they have such proof, because nobody else knows where Obama was in 1981 to 1982, 83. If they know where he was, and where he was in Kandahar or Kabul or Herat, if he sat camped with the Mujahideen, and they got proof, photos, how long will America be blackmailed? And what else will we have to give? Who else will lose their lives? What other freedoms will have to be given up? You know, one could argue, and I'm not arguing this, one could argue that is the day of the East over against the West, that now is the time for Muslims to rise. If they've got this truth about America, they've got the power to take down America. America already now is weakened around the globe. She will never have the kind of proudness that she had, or the pomp that she marched with, or her bragging about being a great military institution ever again. America got her butt kicked, but good, there in Afghanistan. And it seems that those Gold Star families gave up their sons for nothing. It was in vain. But if America is being held hostage now because they entreated Obama and then covered it up, and the Taliban now knows it, and they've got proof. And I'm not saying that they have it or that they do. I'm simply asking the question that the Wall Street Journal asked. Then our freedoms are now gone. I'm James David Manning, everybody. There's a dirty secret out there about Obama. And I think the world needs to know, and needs to know now. I'm the Lord's servant. I want to know. I want to ask you to come up close for just 1 second. And I want to talk to 3-year and older veterans of the Trust in the Lord Hour, the Open Rewards Prayer Meeting, the Manna Report, and the Pulpit of Power, those 4 ministries that we do every week, producing at least 20 different ministries or sermons every week. If you are a 3-year or older veteran, by old I mean 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, older veteran of any of these ministries that we do on a daily basis every week, and you are not a supporter, you've not joined with the ministry to give to pledge your support and your alignment with what we've been teaching. My question is why? You've had 3 years to observe us. You've had 3 years to listen to us on a daily basis, all weekend, all day long, any hour of the day. We're broadcasting. You've had 3 years to watch our various successes. You've 3 years to watch our ups and downs. You've had 3 years to listen to the tenor or the consistency of what we have said, whether we are consistent or whether we're all over the chart and what we do and what we believe. You've had 3 years